Okay, I just talk for a few minutes about where we've got to at the University of Edinburgh in terms of our developments of MOOCs, just a tiny little bit on where we've come from, and really most of the time I'm going to talk about what we see coming up next. I mean, we are partners in both Coursera and FutureLearn. We've run 7 MOOCs across those 2 platforms, had about 500,000 people enrolled. For several of our MOOCs, of those people who turned up in week 1, in other words, excluding the people who were just window shopping, the retention's been around 25–30%. So actually we're reasonably comfortable with that. In other words, there are a significant number of people coming who actually stay the course. Lessons that we've drawn from it have been actually that building MOOCs now doesn't feel particularly difficult to us. The early days when it was a challenge because you had no templates to follow have substantially gone, and there are many different designs out there. We've done the investment in terms of video, and we've built up our strengths in terms of instructional design for the MOOCs. So building them is no longer particularly a challenge to us. And so over the next year or so, we are likely to launch about another 24, 25 MOOCs. So by the time we get to a year and a half from now, perhaps, we'll have about a suite of 30. I don't know if we'll go beyond that suite of 30. That will have cost us about £1 million in academic staff effort and indirect costs. And I can see return on investments for that million, but if we would put a 0 on the end of it, 300 MOOCs, it's less clear to me that that's the case. What I do expect may happen is that some of those people who offered the early MOOCs may decide after 3 years or 4 years that that was enough, but new people will come in, and so perhaps we will reach a steady state number that's around that sort of point. One of the really important lessons, though, that I learned was to stop looking at the big numbers on the enrollments and to start looking inside the numbers for impact. It is quite clear that inside those big numbers, if you discount the large numbers of people with 1 or 2 degrees, there are a significant number, an important number of quite disadvantaged individuals for whom studying a MOOC is a transformational experience, absolutely transformational. People who have only experienced special education, which is not very demanding, actually able to successfully take undergraduate courses. People who are in settings, for whatever reason, who are unable to go to university, nevertheless can access these courses and can take them and can succeed. And for them, it's transformational. So I've stopped worrying about the big numbers, stopped worrying about those who are graduates and double graduates. It's looking at those people for whom this is special. So, coming up next over the next few years, we're moving, I think, now beyond a phase of concentrating on just producing MOOCs and into a phase of doing what I call serious experiments. And those serious experiments are a range of different sorts. Some of them are inward-facing. They're about changing the way we do learning and teaching within the university. And some of them are about using MOOCs in an outward-facing way. The outward-facing way, actually, some of it touches on what I just said about reaching those who are disadvantaged. So we have decided that we will design and offer MOOCs and run MOOCs to those who wouldn't normally study university courses. This is widening participation into schools, supporting the local community to take MOOCs. And these needn't be our MOOCs. These are just the MOOCs that they would wish to study. So we're using student volunteers, we're using people in the local area, within the Edinburgh area, to help build a local community of people who take those courses, and the MOOCs that we offer and support will come out as part of our lifelong learning portfolio. So this is mainstreamed into our lifelong learning activity. The other is to take MOOCs that we have created ourselves, but also to look at MOOCs that have been created by others and see how to fit them into our undergraduate curriculum. And to take the materials that come out of MOOCs, and all of our materials on our MOOCs will wind up being Creative Commons open to the world, to use those materials within our courses not in a strict flipped classroom sense, but in the sense that we've constructed these materials for MOOCs, and so it makes sense to be able to reuse them as many times as possible across our on-campus activities. So those are the sort of the local developments. The wider developments are collaboration. We have an experiment planned within Universitas 21 to take hundreds of our students from each of our universities and bring them together in what is not strictly a MOOC because it's closed to them, but nevertheless is massive in the sense it contains thousands of learners who can therefore get an online and a collaborative international experience across courses like global challenges, the big issues for the world, so that they can meet together in that electronic space. And that to us is a first step towards real virtual mobility of students taking courses from other universities as part of their on-campus activity. So we've got a set of those sorts of developments, joint developments of multilingual MOOCs, particularly working with colleagues in South America to build MOOCs which are designed for schools that can operate in South America as well as operate in Scotland. So from those experiments that go beyond just the traditional standard MOOCs, we hope to learn more about how we can design and develop MOOCs that are actually not just, this is what I want to teach and I put it out there, but this is what we want to teach and this is the audience we wish to reach, and understand how best to do that. On the research side, we're, like everybody, looking at analytics, trying to understand what we can about what learners are doing within MOOCs, but also taking the same learning that we're getting from MOOCs and beginning to apply it to our on-campus classes. So we see these as two different insights into how you can use data to support learners. The MOOC classes being big are actually very helpful from a learner analytics point of view. Our on-campus classes are relatively small and don't really generate the size of data. So the question is, how can you bring those data sets together so that you can actually understand what learners do with resources and help design them better. And then last, we are hoping that the majority, if not all of our MOOCs, will offer some form of formalized assessment, proctored exams with FutureLearn, signature track with Coursera. And the reason for that is that we've learned from our first MOOCs not to prejudge why people take MOOCs. They come for very many reasons. And so therefore, if you deny people the possibility of getting some kind of authenticated output from it, you have made that decision that that is something that they should not have. And so we've tried to make decisions that say, it's up to you to decide what's of value. We don't prejudge whether a statement of accomplishment's of value. We don't understand your setting, and so therefore we can't tell whether it's important to you. You decide. If we didn't offer, they wouldn't have the choice. So to make those choices as widely available as possible, and that to us is undoubtedly a first step towards credit for MOOCs, either credit for entry into the university or credit under an ECTS type arrangement to take to other places, partner universities or whatever they choose. So this set of serious experiments over the next 2 or 3 years we hope will play into our broader digital strategy, and that the MOOCs will actually help us to learn to build better MOOCs for the worldwide community, but also better online learning activities for our students on our campus. And that's me.